Hi everyone! So in this video I'm going to be using my creative inspiration gel crayons to paint the portrait of Allison Mack that you see on the left hand side. She's recently released a new podcast series about her time in the NXIVM cult. So I thought it'd be interesting to paint her face, do a portrait of her. And also I've discovered that with these I could also use watercolor pencils. I have my Prismacolor watercolor pencils that I'll also be using after I put a base down with the crayons. So I'm going to see how this turns out. I'm going to be doing this on the Canson watercolor paper. And I've already drawn her portrait here using the grid method. That down. And now I'm going to start coloring her face with the crayons. And so I was looking at her blouse. I don't have that color in this set. I'm going to be mixing a couple of different colors. I'm going to take the red along with, I think, a little purple. This red might be. It's a little bit too red. I'm going to need a little bit of, I'm thinking of a purple or a brown. Got a little darker. Let me try the purple and see how that looks. Touching that together. And I've been watching other videos, people using their crayons, and I've noticed that I'm going to use my water and paint brushes this time instead of using a water brush. But I found that they got better results when they used a regular paintbrush and mixed it together. So I think I'm going to be doing that this time instead of using a water brush like I did last time when I tested them. And I go from there. So this is the two colors together. Still looks a little darker. I'm going to try a little bit more purple on this to see if it matches that color close enough, I guess. And that's about as close as I'm going to get. I think that looks a little more accurate because it looks more purple on the page in front of me than it does. Depending on my light is very bright, my overhead light. I think this is very close to the color. So these are the two colors I'm going to use for her blouse. I'm going to go ahead and color right on the paper. On the videos I watched someone else painting with a brush, she used a flat brush, so I'm using a brush that's kind of flat, you see, on the side. I think that may work better than on a big round brush for dissolving this. And it does work really well. It's dissolving it very well. There are a lot of straight lines here. Okay, so there's her shirt. Last one. And next I'm going to do the dark sweater there. It's black, but it's also very gray. So I'm going to start with a gray cover and then put some black in over it. It looks like a very sort of a dark gray color rather than being pitch black. Here's the black, where it looks darkest in the picture. And the light's hitting her shoulders. It's a little lighter on top. It gets darker. Goes down. This bottom area. And got a very wet brush here. I'm going to be really smoothing these together. So with the gray and the black, you get a nice gray kind of color here. It's much closer. Thanks for just using a pitch black. I'm wiping off my brush before putting it on the lighter areas. Yeah, so it's smooth. I'm adding a little. I wet the brush again, make it to smooth it out a little bit. So it's not many lines in there. The other side, start with a light area. Top. I think the flat brush really does work well with these cells. The thing I like about this flat brush, you can see it has a little point on it. So you can get those little areas more easily than I could with a regular square flat brush. I think this is from Flydom. Not expensive, it's a discount brush. Flydom, it's called Dailyempress-art. I'll put a link below if you're interested in it. Dramatic there. So I've got her. Look how quickly I did her blouse and her sweater done. Now these are so quick and easy to use. Now we get to the tricky part, the face. So to do the skin, there's not really a skin tone really here. What I tend to do is I use a red color, but I'll use it very watered down. So now I pull out the palette and I want a very light coverage pink over her face, basically, or a very watered down red. So I'm taking a lighter red here, putting enough for her face and neck. More there, maybe. And I think this time I'm going to use the regular round brush, the regular round one, to cover her face. Make it very watered down. Face there. I'm going to add more shading onto it after. I'm just going to cover her whole face and neck. Not keeping the eyes clear, covering everything else. the color usually dries much lighter. And what you put down. Usually it's with watercolor. The same here. It looks like watercolor. You put it down. Alright, so I'm going to wait for that to dry. I think that came out well. I'm going to wait for that to dry and move on to the next step. It doesn't take long to dry. I mean, it dries pretty quickly, but I like to let it sit for just a few minutes before I work on it again, just so there's no problems. Alright, so for her hair, I've got a mustard yellow with a medium brown and a dark brown for the darker areas. Even though I used a mustard type of yellow, it came out really much lighter than I thought it would. So I'm gonna go over it. I'm gonna go back here and I'm gonna use this mid brown that I was using, and I'm gonna just go over the whole head there with the light layer of this light brown, sort of bring down that yellow a little bit. It's a little too yellow. My taste is. This was a little too big bird there. It's down a little bit more normal. I might and add a little more. Yeah, it looks a little bit more closer anyways. Okay, I cleaned off my palette. I'm still not, I think it still looks a little too yellow for me, so I'm going to use the complementary color. I'm going to use this light purple color or lavender color here. I'm just going to use a little layer of this over the hair to sort of tone it down a little bit. Normally you don't like getting a brown color. We'll call it mud, but and that's the actual color you're going for. I'm gonna use those complementary colors and make some mud sort of color here. I'm gonna use this lavender type color here. I'm just gonna go over that yellow here, tone that down a bit more. Yeah. Okay, I like that better. Okay. All right, so now for the shading. Now this is where now it's all dry, and the great thing with the crayons is that it doesn't budge, doesn't reactivate, so it's perfect for using watercolor pencils. And I'm switching to watercolor pencils, even though I could use the crayons and just sort of dip off the tip of the brush, but I think that's tricky, especially with these little areas I'm trying to get. So I want to use the brushes, the pencils, so I can get in more details more easily. So I have the dark umber Prismacolor, and I've got the terracotta. So for her eyebrows, which are dark brown color here, I'm using. And then for the shading of this terracotta, I'm going to activate it with water to smooth it out. But first, I want to in the areas. Some dark brown as well, and the darker shaded areas there on the eyes. I'm really just using these two colors, the terracotta, for now anyways, the terracotta and the dark umber. You can see the half of her face is really shaded in here. A lot of shading over here on the side. use my round brush again. Smooth that out. And because the crayons just dry in place and they don't budge again, you can just use watercolor. I'm putting water on top of it again, and it's not lifting up any crayons at all. So I can put multiple layers of watercolor or watercolor pencils here on top of the gel crayons here, and it's really great way to put a quick base down and then go in and add more details later with the watercolor or anything really, I'm sure. That shadow looks a little too light, so I'm going to go in with the dark umber. Down there. Adding more layers if needed. Her eyes are blue, I believe, but they look very dark in this picture. In the shade, she's looking down. I'm just going to use the dark umber for the eyes as well. And I've got the blue, ultramarine blue. I'm just going to go in the eyes again. Even a little bit darker than that now. I'm sort of touching the color directly on the brush to get a very pigmented. It's very dark there under the eyes. And then a little bit, I put brown for the eyelashes, so I'm putting the blue over that. Black. It's a dark gray, anyways. Eyebrow. And then back to the terracotta a little bit, mixing with that for the lips. And putting my brush on the terracotta directly. And then also terracotta down here, so I'll blend in this shading down here. Again, a little bit brownish color a bit. Still looking a bit red. So I'm going to tone down that red a little bit with some pigment. Olive green. Maybe some olive green on top of that, so it's not quite so. A little bit. Somehow I get this color. This watercolor pencil stuck there. I'm lifting that up now. One pencil that's stuck in there, so it's going to look like another line there, which I didn't want. A little bit of that again. Blend that together. Okay, it looks a little smoother. It looks a little better, I think. here. I think it's a little here, a bit of here over here. Dark brown here. I'm going into some texture. Also sort of fill that space in there. There's a little bit of hair there on the side. Put in. Now I'm realizing I think I made her chin a little too square, so I'm just gonna fix that a little bit with dark umber again. Just put away. Actually, I'm just gonna go in and I'll use the dark green for the terracotta. A lot more dark green than I intended on using there. I go over that with the terracotta there. So that's okay, I can wash it off with the brush. Synthetic, so I can lift it better. Oh. Create my dark green and terracotta red. Little spot there is real light. the paper, I think, is getting worked too much. And you work it too much, paper gets flawed, you know? So I'm not holding the color so well. I think that might do it. Yeah, it's a little patchy, but not too bad. Oh, that's what I could get there with the face. Shading is not easy to do. Alright, so there's that. So one last thing, I'm just gonna do the background. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with it, so I'm just gonna put a sky above her, and it's light blue, another light color. I will put in a darker blue in the bottom. You sort of have a mix between them a little bit. Transition there. Okay. Now I'm going to bring out a nice big flat brush for this one. A lot of water. Mix it all up. Dramatic background, so quick and easy with these crayons. 1, 2, 3, done. I can see the line. Oops. Paper was still wet. I shouldn't have done it that quickly. Wait for it to dry. Adding another layer. Oh, there you go. Pretty much added some things. Now I get this mark here that I couldn't lift up. So to fix that, I've got the gel pen again. I'm just going to go over it again with another layer and then smooth that together. And this time I use my water brush. Just a quick fix here. So I'm just using my water brush and go ahead and easily cover that up. Always wait for it to dry before you add anything. Even though I know that, I still make the mistake sometimes. There we go. Alright, so now I think I am done. Just doing little details here. Little spaces here. Okay, now I think it is finished. I'm finally done with the portrait. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.